Welcome to Jog On, running you through to geography success. This episode focuses on development. So, stressing about exams isn't your cup of tea. Well, why not focus in on this short presentation? So, the development topic for you second years is part of the G3 exam and you'll be writing one essay on it. So, it focuses in on what is development. That might be one key topic area. So you could look at environmental, social and economic. Also, you have on the far side of the board the traditional divide, the rich north and poor south, shown by the brand line. The topic goes on further to look at how can development be measured. So remember, the indicators can be simple, such as birth rate, death rate, or they can be more complex, such as the Human Development Index or the Human Poverty Index. Remember that development isn't just money. So it can be economic, however it can be social with things such as nutrition, access to healthcare and access to clean water. So, thinking about what led to contemporary differences in development can open a number of issues. So for example, have there been previous trade blocs? Has there been access to fair trade? What is the system of government? How and when has industrialisation happened? So, moving on away from factors that have led to contemporary differences and onto a model. Now, Rostow's model, the stages of economic development, can actually help us pinpoint where countries are. Countries go through, first of all, stage one, the traditional society, which is often subsistence, bartering and agriculture. So some third world places may currently still be in that. The second example is a transitional stage, which focuses on specialisation, surpluses and infrastructure. Moving on, we have the take-off stage, which is industrialisation, growing investment, regional growth and political change. The fourth stage, often found in the more developed countries, is diversification, innovation and less reliance on imports. And then finally, high mass consumption. So this is found in your MEDCs, where they are consumer orientated, have durable goods, they flourish and the service sector becomes dominant. Don't forget, there is some cross-topic links going on. The demographic transition model from population back at AS level actually relates to Rostow's model, in that they often can be seen to run parallel to each other. So countries that are in stage 5 with a declining population are often those ones that also have high consumerism and are more developed. So, if we think about what factors have historically favoured or hindered development, there are a number of things, but 2 or 3 spring to mind. One is cultural or religious differences. So for example, some countries do not value the role of women or do not value foreign imports. So for example, some Arab countries may not want investment from American companies. Another issue is often the system of government. So for example, communism in China or formerly in Russia often has slowed down development and meant that many people are actually excluded from the benefits of it. Now, we've got to think about how and why the development pattern is changing. So, if we look at how things are divided at the moment, we have the rich north, the poor south. But ultimately, it isn't as clear as that, and we've got to research and understand how that is changing. First of all, there is economic change. So for example, you have rapidly industrialising countries, newly industrialised countries, and you have the Asian tigers, the countries that have taken off very rapidly in Southeast Asia. Don't forget that there are many sources of information which you can use. World Bank statistics, IMF statistics are all really useful for backing up your viewpoints. The World Bank, just as a little bit of a side, actually classifies economies by their GNP. As you can see, there is data available which you can use, and it actually links many ideas together. So for example, this link here to the World Bank actually gives you information on nutrition and population which you can use to bring into your essays. So, you have many different tasks which might come up in the exam. One key favourite is how and why the development pattern is changing. There might be issues which affect development. So for example, women's statuses, HIV and AIDS, and sustainable development. Moving on to the later part of the topic, and this is where often the topic splits in two. The development gap, as in what is hindering it being closed and what strategies are there. So what hinders the closing of the development gap? First of all, remember, development is an increase in the standards of living and quality of life for an increasing proportion of the population. Development is more than economic expansion, and it involves social, cultural and technological advancements as well as economic growth. So, we have three key things. First of all, the burden of third world debt. Countries have debts of billions of pounds, billions of dollars, and the rich countries are not willing to wipe those off. The second thing is trade blocks. This is closed agreements where countries will or will not trade or will give preferential treatment to certain neighbours. And then finally, social constraints and cultural barriers. So, debt. It's crippled many poor countries. Often it's passed on loans taken out by prior rulers and government systems. So for example, if you look at poorly indebted countries, you can see that most of those are in sub-Saharan Africa. Trade is another issue. Trade is one way that growth can really be enhanced, but about 70% of the world's poor actually work in agriculture, and a lot of that is actually in subsistence agriculture, which can't be traded. If you look at the idea of trade blocks, the EU is an example. So for example, preferential tax rates will be given to countries trading within the EU, but those outside will have to pay a high rate of taxes. So going back, these highly indebted countries are not going to have the preferential access that the European countries had. Policies often get in the way. So policies such as the Common Agricultural Policy can actually be a hindrance. So thinking back to CAP actually involves farmers in the UK and in Europe getting subsidies and being given quotas. However, because those are in place, they won't trade with countries outside of Europe because of fear of losing the benefits. Don't forget that you can access online resources to help you. They're available from the WJEC website. There are interactive activities and maps that you can undertake and use. Thank you for watching.